As the 2024 election looms like a dramatic sequel that we're all dreading, the debate over whether America was better under Donald Trump or Joe Biden intensifies. With Trump eyeing the White House comeback like an ex who just won't let go, and Kamala Harris stepping up as the Democrats' top candidate, the stakes are higher than your aunt's blood pressure at Thanksgiving dinner. Let's dive into the past, comparing economic policies, handling of crime, and overall leadership styles. Then we'll drive into the future to land at the feet of the 2024 election to ask the big question: should America go back to Trump or move forward with Harris? By the end of this video, you have a clearer picture of where the country stands and where it might be headed. Spoiler alert, like most of my Facebook relationship statuses in high school, it's complicated. Let's kick things off with the economy. Besides, if there's one thing Americans care about more than McDonald's McDoubles, it's their wallets. Under Trump, the economy was like a roller coaster that started strong with the GDP growth peaking at 3% in 2018 and unemployment hitting a 50-year low. Big businesses were thrilled with Trump's tax cuts and deregulation, so much so that the stock market took off like a rocket. But like every wild ride, there was a drop. The national debt ballooned, and when the pandemic hit in 2020, the economy went into a nosedive, contracting by 2.2%. Critics argue that Trump's handling of the pandemic was like trying to put a forest fire out with one bottle of water. Biden took the reins in the aftermath, inheriting an economy that was bruised, battered, and in desperate need of some TLC. Enter the American Rescue Plan and the vaccine rollout that had us all dreaming of a mask-free summer. The result, GDP growth of 5.7% in 2021, the highest since 1984. But of course, this recovery had a catch: inflation. You know, that thing that makes your grocery bill like you just accidentally bought a small island. Inflation surged to a 40-year high in mid-2020, making it like you're paying 2024 prices in 2022. And while the job market has been strong, with unemployment dipping as low as 3.4%, that rising cost of living has many Americans questioning whether the recovery is as rosy as it seems. Trump oversaw strong pre-pandemic growth, but left the office during an economic crisis. Biden managed a substantial recovery, but is grappling with inflation that's sticking around like an unwelcomed house guest. Both had their successes and failures, so picking the winner here is about as easy as choosing whether to eat a bowl of nails or a plate of nails. Now let's talk about crime, because nothing says presidential legacy like a good old-fashioned Law and Order debate. Trump's presidency was like a rerun of Cops, lots of talking and being tough on crime, especially during the civil unrest of 2020. Now, violent crimes actually decreased in the first 3 years, but then spiked in 2020, thanks in part to the pandemic and the country on edge. Trump's response was to go full Law and Order mode, which some praised as necessary and others criticized as pouring gasoline on a fire. Biden, on the other hand, inherited a nation still reeling from these events. His strategy: more reforms and fewer send-in-the troop moments. Biden focused on tackling the root causes of crime like poverty and systematic racism, instead of just upping the police presence. But while the data shows some signs of improvement, public perception is still on edge, because let's face it, everyone loves a good crime drama, right? Oh, let's not forget immigration. Another where Trump and Biden couldn't be more different. Trump's approach was, in a word, strict. With policies like Remain in Mexico and a beefed-up border wall, illegal border crossings were down, but the controversies were sky high. Remember the family separations? Yeah, those weren't exactly a PR win. Biden took a more humane approach, reversing Trump's immigration strategies. Now, this has led to an increase in border crossings, but at least families are back together now. The border crisis remains as continuous as ever. In the crime and law enforcement area, it's another draw. Trump was tough but divisive, and Biden was more reform-minded. But these results are still up in the air. Who's better? Depends on what kind of law and order you're looking for. Of course, no discussion of Trump versus Biden would be complete without talking about rhetoric. Because let's face it, words matter. The saying "sticks and stones may break my bones, but words may never hurt me" was a lie. I mean, just call a Republican a weirdo, or a Democrat by the wrong pronoun, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Trump's presidency was like a never-ending Twitter feud with the side of alternative facts. Whether it was claiming that immigrants were pouring in for prisons, or that he won an election that he very clearly lost, Trump's style was less about subtlety and grace and more about throwing verbal grenades. His approach rallied his fan base, but also eroded public trust in institutions and the media faster than you could say fake news. Take, for example, Trump's claim that immigrants are responsible for a crime wave in the US.
He's the one that killed people with the bad water, including hundreds of thousands of people dying, killing our citizens when they come in.
It's a narrative he's pushed repeatedly, despite evidence showing that immigrants, including undocumented ones, actually commit crimes at a lower rate than native-born citizens. He says hundreds of thousands of Americans are being killed by immigrants, but in reality it's only been 23. And like shots, 23 is too many, but the truth remains. Trump doesn't let facts get in the way of a good story. This kind of fear-mongering has proven effective at mobilizing a certain segment of voters, but it's also left the country more divided than a Thanksgiving dinner when somebody brings up, well, politics. Now enter Joe Biden, who despite his occasional verbal stumbles,
look, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president,
has generally taken a more measured approach to communication. Biden's rhetoric tends to focus on unity and that ever-elusive thing called the truth. While he's not immune to criticism, especially from those who feel that he hasn't delivered on every promise, Biden's style is more about bringing people together than blowing things up. He's the guy who shows up after the party, cleans up the mess, and tries to make sure everyone gets home safely. During the past 4 years, Biden has been working on delivering tangible results like capping insulin prices, expanding access to healthcare, and passing the first meaningful gun safety law in decades, rather than stirring up drama. And during those 4 years, Trump has been perfecting his truth social game. Okay, so here we are, staring down the barrel of the 2024 election, with the choice that feels like picking between two very different movies. One, a high-stakes action thriller with lots of explosions, the other, thoughtful drama that might make you cry from A24. Trump's presidency was marked by economic growth before the pandemic, but also more divisive rhetoric, misinformation, and an increase in national debt. If he gets back in the White House, expect more of the same, lots of bombastic, lots of us versus them, and probably more tweets than anyone should have to endure. Harris, on the other hand, seems to offer a vision of America that prioritizes truth, justice, and collaboration. While she faces a set of her own challenges, particularly in managing the complexities of immigration and crime, her approach seems to be rooted in a desire to help heal the nation and address the issues it's facing. It's a more measured, less chaotic path, but is it the path America wants? Now it's up to you to choose a path. Will you drop a like on this video? Will you comment on who you think will win the election and maybe call me a soy boy? Or will you subscribe to stay in the loop? Just like this election, it's up to you.